This is part 2 of our video interview series on La Posada Providencia. Find part 1 on our YouTube channel or website. Alright, so can you please introduce yourself? So name, what you do here at La Posada, and then a description of your job and how long you've been here.
So my name is Alyssa Perez. I'm the Volunteer Development Coordinator. I've been here about a year and 2 months. My position is basically handling all the volunteers that come in, giving them job duties, going through and logging every single activity that they do for our grant processing, because we get one grant that matches the hours that they give us to money that they give us back in grants.
Oh, wow.
So with the more volunteer hours that we get, the more money we get back in our grant. And the development aspect is more of like partnering with organizations and local communities to get freebies. So like we partner with Starbucks and they give us like breakfast sandwiches and desserts every like other day. And then we partner with universities like RGV, and they give us not only volunteers but they give us resources like free counseling.
Oh, wow.
Also with development, it's kind of like donor recognition, so going in and looking for donors, and then also making sure that all of our donations are logged properly, and making sure we're thanking our donors for giving us like even $5, from $5 to however much they want to give us, recognizing them on social media. So since I'm the youngest employee here, I handle all the social media, so I do the Instagram and the Facebook, and we're working on getting a TikTok open.
Oh, that's great. Alright, so from what you just told me, right, the volunteer, you not only work every day with the migrants, like seeing what they do, but you also log it. So you're very familiar with what they're doing. So one question that we've been asking is that there's a lot of misconceptions about our border and specifically the people coming in. From your work, what have you learned about these migrants that kind of defeats those stereotypes that, you know, people might have about them?
That they're taking our jobs.
Yeah.
They're taking the jobs that no one wants.
Yeah.
They're taking the jobs that you work outside every single day, very little pay, or even if you have your work permit, you're not getting minimum wage because it's the only job you can find as a waitress or cleaning people's homes. Even if they have like certificates that they're certified to do something in their home country, it doesn't translate in the United States. So they can't get their fancy job that they had over there here because it doesn't translate here. And taking our health care, I mean, the majority of the time they have no health care. They cannot apply for health care. They don't even know how much a doctor costs. And if they do go to the doctor, they realize that it's thousands of dollars to go to the hospital.
Exactly.
And I think that's a big thing of like people thinking they're taking our jobs, and they're taking the jobs that really no one wants.
Exactly. Could you kind of describe, you know, what are some experiences with some of the migrants that, you know, kind of show their humanity? Because we hear these stories about that they're criminals or that they're, you know, breaking the law, but do you have maybe a couple stories that kind of highlight their humanity?
So we had a client from Russia. He was deaf and he knew Russian Sign Language and not English Sign Language, and he was here for a while, and it took a really long time for him to get his work permit, and he was really struggling with that, especially because he didn't want to return back to his home country, because if he did, he would be deemed as basically a traitor. And he was very nervous, and whenever we would talk about like, what do you want to do here, he was very much like, I just want to be a U.S. citizen. I just want to find a job here with what I can do, because back in my home country they cannot employ me because I'm deaf, and they're very ableist because of that. And you see a lot of people who come in and they want to work, and that's great, and they're getting these jobs, but this man found it very difficult to find like community here that he could actually properly communicate with, because no one knew Russian Sign Language here. He was learning English Sign Language, but it was very difficult for him because all of his life he was speaking Russian Sign Language. And he finally got his work permit, and he found a community in another state that they were Russian deaf immigrants.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So he is with now people who are also deaf, and we have former clients that are now employed here, and they still communicate with him, saying he's doing amazing, he's traveling, he's happy, he is communicating with his friends, with his family, and he's just like he's living his best life basically in the United States. And it was really funny because we would take him out and he would put on his American flag shirt and his American flag shorts because he was really proud to be in America because it's very different from communism.
Yeah, that's really so beautiful, and I think it highlights, right, these aren't people who are here to, you know, take your jobs or, you know, steal or bring in, you know, horrible things. They're here to, you know, just live and they're proud to be an American. They don't have any resentment towards the country. Can I ask, how did you get involved with La Posada? How was that process?
So I've been volunteering in various places and respite centers and like along the border since I was like able to volunteer, so like 14 years old. I have a background in pre-med and a background in anthropology with migrant population. So I worked at the hospital with a lot of the migrant population, and then I applied for this job because it was more towards my degree. And since I had a lot of experience with fundraising in college with all of my organizations that I was a part of, I got this job. And so honestly, it was just like looking through jobs, and I've always wanted to work in the nonprofit sector. So since it's a nonprofit, I applied, and being here not only made me realize how different this shelter is from other shelters in the border, but I love that I also get to show people when I give tours that like this is very different and this is not what you see on TV, because they will rarely show us on TV. Exactly. It's not good news.
Yeah. Can you explain what makes La Posada different, and what do you wish the people out there saw?
Well, first of all, we are a private shelter, so we're not government funded completely. We have one small governmental grant, which just means we have more freedom with the money that we get and what we can use it for. So we can like go on little trips. Like they went to the zoo last week and we took the clients and the kids to the zoo. Or if we have the budget, we can take them to a Chinese buffet because they've never had a buffet before. And we're an at-will shelter, so that means that they're here at their own will. They're not forced to be here throughout the day. If they want to sign out, if they want to go to Walmart for 8 hours of the day, or if they want to go to church for 8 hours of the day, just sign out, say where you're going, and be back by 6 for curfew. And we're also very, like, we're not as strict as other people. Like, we are strict in our rules, but we're not strict as in, like, you need to eat or you need to work. If they want to help on the yard, or if they want to help with dishes, they're more than welcome to help, and then it helps them because they get volunteer hours and helps their case. But every time I give a tour, everyone's super shocked at how like calm it is. And I think because we're in San Benito, like we're a very small outskirts city, it's very relaxing, and it's away from the train stops and it's away from the border wall, that people get to actually come and sit down and relax. And then we're a long-term shelter too, so that means they can be here over 30 days. So they don't have to be worrying about where they're going to go in the next 30 days. They're now worrying about, let's work on my case because I have at least 3 months here. And they don't have to stress about where they're going to go next and look for somewhere else.
Yeah. And we were talking with Ben about this. Do you find that, you know, there's this misconception that you know, these organizations, if I were to show someone a tour of this place and be, wow, it's so beautiful, these people must be getting handouts, right? Can you kind of defeat that notion of, no, they're not getting handouts, these people are being empowered? Can you talk about how La Posada empowers these people, you know?
Yeah, so we're really big on self-sufficiency because we know that wherever they're going to go next, people aren't going to do things for them. So we don't want to give them that freedom where they're not going to get anywhere else. So obviously we will help with the case management aspect, but they're the ones picking up the phone, calling their lawyers, checking on their case, calling to reschedule their court dates, changing their venues. They're doing all of that. We're basically here to make sure that their case is proceeding and to make sure that everything is going well and they still have a case so that they can still legally be housed here. So they're really doing the hard work. They're looking for their own jobs. We can help them with maybe finding a course for resume building or for financial literacy, but they're really putting in the hard work to work on their case and look for job opportunities and make sure that they have a case to begin with, because if they don't have a case, then that becomes a whole issue. So they're working really hard on making sure that they can stay here in the United States for as long as possible.
Well, and I think that's beautiful that, you know, these people aren't here to take our resources and leave, or they're not here to live off it. they're here to stay and they really want to. So.
Yeah, and we have clients who, as soon as they get here, they want to find a job. Like, we tell them, like, take a couple days, like, relax, sit down, and they're like, no, we're leaving right now. We're gonna go look for something, or I'm going to work on my case right now, or I'm gonna change my venue right now. Like, most of our clients are very much goal oriented to, I want to be out of La Posada as soon as possible. I mean, I would assume that nobody wants to be at a shelter. They don't want to feel like powerless. They want to feel like they're providing for themselves or for their family. So that's what they try to do.
Well, awesome. And Miss Laney, you want to ask she's been asking this question for everyone.
Yeah,
and I think it's such a great question.
Everyone this question. But first of all, thank you so much for sharing. We're so inspired by everyone here and dedicating like your life's work to helping migrants. So for those of us that like don't live near the border, or maybe don't have the opportunity to spend a long period of time here, what is something that like the average American can do to support migrants in your work here?
I think other than donating like financially, volunteering. Because a lot of nonprofits, they don't have a lot of money to employ or to hire on. So volunteering, becoming a regular long-term volunteer, even bringing a group maybe like once every other month would be really great. Sharing on social media what you see, providing your services. If you have a service that can be provided for a migrant, provide it. I mean, even if it's like your yoga teacher, come on the weekends or come on the week on your day off, and we'll do a yoga class, or we'll do art therapy. That really, really helps, because a lot of the times we don't have like these specific resources for them they might require or they might really benefit from, and volunteers really help with that, because they're doing something from their own time, and they get to speak with the clients, and the clients get to speak with someone that they've never spoken to before, and they get to ask them about their career and what they did to get there. And it really helps them open up too, because they only have either a staff or whoever else is at the shelter to talk to, and sometimes they can get really exhausting. And so having like a group of volunteers to talk to really, really brings out like emotion in our clients.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to take more of your time, but honestly, like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's just so great, and we love to hear narratives that just show the true humanity of these people. So it's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's also great to see like young people doing this work too.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I love my job. Like I love the work that I'm doing. I love the population. I'm basically obsessed with my job and giving tours, because I get to let people know like what we're about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just introduce yourself, name, your position here, a little description of the position, and then how long you've been here at La Posada.
Okay, great. So I am Denise Hernández. I am the operations manager at La Posada Providencia. I have been here for a year and a half. And a bit about what I do as the operations manager is I oversee operations. That's inclusive of building maintenance, facilitation of recreational activities, as well as client services. So basically everything that encompasses our priorities, which is shelter, food, and clothing. Part of that also deals with the outreach aspect of what we do at La Posada, as it includes colonias, which are areas or regions that lack infrastructure basics. So lack of electricity, lack of water, a lot of economic difficulties that are faced in the local community. So we also participate in helping to benefit people that live in those areas, and I oversee that as well.
Amazing. So can I ask you, you've been here for a year and a half, that's amazing. Can you kind of tell us, how did you get introduced to La Posada? How did you find out about it? How did you join? And how's your experience been so far?
Great. Yes. So a lot of my experience just growing up, being younger and whatnot, has been local. I am born and raised in the Brownsville, Texas area, and so I am from the valley, or what we consider to be the valley of South Texas. That itself has exposed me to many immigrants, immigrant culture, and just being part of what we call the frontera, which is the border between Mexico and the U.S., right? So that's sort of what piqued my initial interest in the population, in shelter life, right? And how we then humanize the individuals that come across that are looking for better lives.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked personally with immigrant shelters since 2013. And so I've worked individually as a case manager as well as overseeing different regional prospects and aspects with different companies being nonprofit and government organizations. So in my experience, I have worked government contracts as well. And through those experiences, I came across La Posada.
Yeah.
Yes, so a lot of my experience involved traveling and going to nation programs, so across Arizona, California, some other programs that are also in like the Chicago, New Jersey, New York areas. And then once I sort of got a taste of that, I decided I wanted to come back home and sort of just make some more roots here and focus on some of the personal aspect of what got me involved in immigration. So now I find myself here at La Posada Providencia.
That's amazing. And you say you have a very like a plethora of experience and it's also really diverse inside working with immigrants. Can you kind of talk about what differentiates La Posada? What's different about La Posada, and why is that different good?
Yes. So when you look at the spectrum of shelters, you have different shelters. So you have shelters that are run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is ORR. That runs under the Department of Human Health Services. And those are different types of contracts. And then you also have some encampments that are run by DHS with the Department of Homeland Security, right? Those are different government contracts. They have a much more rigid and structured protocol. A lot of what you see in the social media aspect is like the baby prisons and all that with the aluminum blankets. Those are DHS shelters. DHHS shelters are still structured, but they allow for a lot of the basic necessities and normalcy and policy to be applied. So maybe you'll have kids that are shelters there, but they get to go to school and they have to see mental health providers and they have to go to medical offices and whatnot, right? Then you have shelters that are private sector shelters. So we are a private sector shelter. We run based off of donations. So that in itself makes us different because there aren't many shelters that have the stability to work at the independent level. So we do have a small percentage of our grant funding that is government, and so it has some stipulations. But then the rest of it really is just a lot of patrons, you know, people that love what we do, that believe in what we do, that have been around and, you know, want to support the cause and or have been immigrants themselves and are now successful and want to support. And so that's how we run, which gives us a lot of that fluidity to be able to create our own sense of normalcy, right? And so we differ in that we are one, if not the only long-term shelter along the frontera, along the border. Yes, and so what does that mean? What that means is that typically, because grants are run by meeting your objective numbers, so often people will receive monies based on how much or how many people they can serve, right? Which then means that they have to limit the amount of people that stay at their shelter long term so that they can increase the number of people they service throughout the year, right? So sometimes, most often, shelters will let people stay there, whether they're immigrants or citizens, for 3 to 45 days, and then they cut it off. Here at La Posada, we're unique in that our minimum stay is often 3 months, so that's 90 days, which is double that of many of our counterparts. And then on a case-by-case basis, which includes, you know, good behavior, a willingness to participate, right, in our English courses and other community activities, and also that which includes a progress in their legal case. So you have to be actively working on an asylum case to be living here. If you can prove all those things within your 3 months, then we will extend that stay. And that can be 6 months, and that can be 9 months, up until our goal for you is independence. And so we've been successful in meeting that. And that's sort of why we light a bit of that fire, right? To say, I only have 3 months, I need to make the most of it. Whereas if we were the type of shelter that would say, well, you can be here for 1 year, sometimes people can consider that a vacation, right? And America, if anything, is about being independent and, working for that freedom, right? And being able to have that liberty in the choices that you make through your independence. And so that's a lot of what we believe here, and then what we teach through their independence and through them working their cases actively.
Thank you. I think that touches on so much.
Yes, it does.
And one of the things I wanted to kind of follow-up question is, so one thing that we wanted to ask everyone, right, really gets to the heart of our mission. What are some misconceptions about the border, and more specifically the migrants that are coming in, that are not only false but hurtful, that your work kind of disproves?
So I think one of the largest misconceptions is they're coming here to mooch, right? Layman's terms. They want to mooch off of the system. They want this, they want that. No, most of the people that walk in the doors are actually anxious to start working, to start adding to the economy, mostly because they want to send money back to their homes, but also they want to come here just to support, and then really their goal is to go back. They want to be where they're from, which is pretty interesting, because I think oftentimes you think you're coming here, you want to live here, that's all you want to do, that's what the North sort of gets to see. But the reality is that so many of the people that come here, they love their countries. It's just the government is not supportive of them in their countries often, or they're coming from a communist country, and many, they're coming from China or from Cuba or from Russia, which we've had all of those individuals here, throughout this 1 year. So those are individuals that they want to participate in our economy. They want to help us grow here, or they want to educate themselves. They want to be a part of something great. And so it's not about coming here and mooching off of the system. Many of them ask us about taxes. How do we pay taxes? How do we make that happen? We want to participate. And so it's about teaching them that, the concern actually that we have, if anything, is that many employers don't understand how to work with immigrants. They don't know how to, they don't have the patience, right? And so that's, if anything, what we see. But a lot of what we have from our clients, base is people that want to come and participate actively in this economy, or people that love America, and people that do want to stay here, right? And they want to have their families here and build foundations here. So that to us is something that very, very often goes overseen. People don't pay attention to that as much.
Thank you. And I'll leave it to Miss Delaney. So Miss Delaney's had a question that she's been asking everyone. I think it's such a great question. So
thank you so much for sharing, and we're so inspired by everyone that dedicates their life to working with migrants. For those of us that don't live close to the border, what are some things we can do to support migrants in the work here at La Posada?
Okay, so there are different aspects of ways to support places like La Posada. For those that are not here on site, that can't maybe join us, and do the painting or the agricultural aspect of what we do here, or just the teaching ESL, we do have an Amazon wishlist account, and so that's always a way that we can be supported, buying deodorants or hair care, even for some of our clients that are African, and they have different types of textures and whatnot, right? Or even buying, we have some Muslim garments or the Quran, right, that we also give out to our clients here as a point of normalcy. So the Amazon wishlist is a fantastic way to help to support us if you're not able to be here physically, or if you're like, well, I don't really feel comfortable sending money, but I would purchase something to be able to give to the population. That would be fantastic. Another way to support us is obviously then donation, monetary. We do have a system. We have our website at I think it's laposada.org, so you can always visit us, or you can visit us on Facebook or Instagram. And so those are ways that you can contribute, or you can find our donation button and you could donate through there. But also on the topic of social media, you can share us, like us, follow us. That helps tremendously. Not every aspect of helping us has to be monetary. For the large part, it can actually just be, putting our faces out there, putting our names out there, showing people what we do and how immigrants spend day-to-days, while they're here in the U.S. That's an actual that's a large contribution. Just liking our Facebook statuses, sharing it, that's a fantastic way of being involved with us and getting our name out there. So I would say that those are some ways that we can be supported by individuals that maybe aren't here. But if you are nearby, and if you find a way to get to us, or if you'd like to volunteer with us, we are working on renovating some of our older buildings, like the one that you see behind us. This is Casa Carolina. It's one of our older buildings, and we actually have some dormitories in there that, on a donation-based process, we allow people to sort of rent out the rooms. They stay here with us, they volunteer with us, they spend some time with us. We do background checks also if you're here for a long period of time, but we welcome anyone that would want to come and just sort of get to know what we do and how we do it. One of the things that we offer is, I think, a very therapeutic setting, and so to be able to be a part of that in a setting that you can really see people flourish in allows you to see a bit more into their journey. And so we welcome people to be able to come and to do that with us and to participate in that with us, and bring your creativity, because we like to paint and we like to have fun, and not everything has to be cutting yards and washing dishes and stuff, which we do appreciate anyway. But we look forward to anything that's creative. Our clients are not just here to work, they're here to live and to thrive. And if you have a lesson that you'd like to participate in teaching and assisting, with even just maybe resume building, or practicing basic English language skills, talking about Friends episodes, right, or How I Met Your Mother or something, that's a great way to be involved with us. Or if you can teach our staff French, we don't speak French, but if you have that skill set and you know of how to teach someone, we would welcome that.
Well, amazing. Those are all the questions. I don't want to take too much of your time,
No
but
worries.
thank you so much for all this.